So I've been contemplating on how I want to start this video, and I've been thinking about it for almost a week and a half now, if not over a week and a half. Kind of lose track of time, it's that time of the year where winter just feels like every day is as short as possible and time just keeps going. But I turned 25 last month, and the month or two leading up to being 25, I was excited. When I first would turn around, maybe 22, 23 is when I started thinking, wow, I'm almost to my mid 20s. And here I am at 25 now, 1 month later. And that excitement hasn't continued the way I would have liked it. I don't feel very enthusiastic about the future. And it sucks because I was excited. I felt like I was finally becoming a mature adult. 2023 was a big year for me. I made some big decisions in my life that changed for the better. But once I hit 25, it felt like everything that I accomplished up to this point in my life just isn't enough. I'm 25. I don't really have a job I could say I work at normally. I work in landscaping with my dad sometimes. But typically I stay at home, and I know that might seem like I'm just lazy. And to be honest, for a while I thought the same thing. I thought, what is wrong with me? What am I just lazy? But for those of you who know me in person, know that I've been struggling with mental health issues for several years at this point, and you may know that it has changed my behavior quite a lot. Before I turned 20, I lived in I lived with my parents all 19 years. And then college was a thing. So once I graduated high school, I did around a year of community college here in the San Francisco Bay Area. But after that year, almost 2 years, I transferred to a university, the Savannah College of Art and Design, but the Atlanta campus, because I was going into film production. This was the first time that I was going to be by myself, far away from anyone that I knew. I mean, all of my friends were here in the Bay Area, all of my family was here. Everyone that I knew, except for, a couple of online friends that I would play a game with every once in a while. I mean, everything that I knew was here. When I moved to Atlanta, that's when I said, okay, my life is changing and it's going in the direction that I want it to be. But during that time, even in high school, I was already struggling mentally. Something was there, something was developing. I felt like maybe I just had some undiagnosed ADHD, and turns out that could be part of the problem. I still haven't been tested for ADHD, even though I've tried to get an appointment for it. It's just my medical insurance is a little messy, but I will get that done this year. However, I had trouble keeping up with my classes in college. I'd say the first year of college, I was doing really well. I was on the honors list, top 10% of the school. And then after that, I fell into what I would call a deep depression. And to be honest, I didn't know exactly why that was. Um, I felt like maybe, sure, my life wasn't perfect, but it didn't mean that I didn't have what I needed to succeed. I had my family supporting me. I had the money that was granted to me by the government and by scholarships and by my own family. And I had all the time I needed to study. But something was just not there for me. Something wasn't clicking. And so for several years, I pushed and pushed myself beyond my own limits of stress, just to try to accomplish something. But after a while, it started wearing down on me heavily. I started not showing up to class just because, when you're in college, you have the freedom of not going to class and you could just fake it and lie and say, "Oh, I'm feeling sick" or whatever. Or you can be like me and just not say anything to the teacher and just never ask for homework or anything like that while I'm out. I just live day by day. Basically, I lived only in the moment and I wouldn't think of the future. And so that caught up to me. That finally caught up to me, and it was in 2020. 2020 was a huge year just for the entire world. I'm sure if you're watching this and you're in your teenage years or your young adulthood or you're more mature than that, it doesn't matter. 2020 affected all of us. And it affected me more than I would have liked. It took away my opportunity to be me, at least for a little while. During that time, I isolated myself. It's not because I didn't like people, but I just couldn't find something inside me to make friends. People would invite me to things, to like maybe just go get a coffee or something. And maybe I'm interested in this person myself, whether I want to pursue a relationship or just be friends with them. But something always held me back. And this entire time, I cannot figure out what it is. But I did have a conversation maybe a month and a half ago, if not a month ago. Again, track of time. And I spoke with a friend of mine who lives across the world from me, and I've met him online only, never met him in person. But I would definitely call him a good friend of mine. And this friend knows of the issues that I've been dealing with mentally. And I will get into these mental health issues maybe in another video if that's what people like, if anyone even watches this and enjoys it. But he's helped me through the darkest of times. And while I may not be the best friend, because sometimes I just don't respond to them or anything, but he helped me figure out that maybe I'm not the problem. It's just my brain. Physically. I think I lack the right chemical balance in my brain to produce dopamine properly. Now, I've been medicated for almost 3 years now. I take a combination of antidepressants, antipsychotics, and a mood stabilizer. And over that time, I've learned that I think I just need to find what I need to make my brain function normally. Now, the purpose of this video isn't very clear to me. I don't know if I want to make it public. I don't know if I want to keep it private. But maybe someone else out there is in a similar situation as me. And maybe they just needed to hear someone speak about their own problems and realize that, hey, I'm not alone. That other people are struggling mentally, physically, or both. And so here I am, 25 now, fast forward through very dark years. And I'm no longer in college. I actually dropped out in 2020. And around, I think it was early fall. And I moved back to California in December of 2020. And I am currently still here in California living with my parents in their garage. But that's okay, because I know that I'm not the only one in this situation. I mean, there's nothing wrong with living with your parents, obviously. Any number of things can impact your ability to move out and be on your own and be independent fully. But that didn't mean that I was happy. And so after I started being medicated, I started to feel like I was getting back to the old self, back to the pre 18-year-old me, where I had these dreams and aspirations and I had this passion within me to create, to be creative, to create music, art of any sort, whether it be films, videos, podcasts, anything, live streams. And I feel like I'm finally finding that again. But the issue is, I can't just commit to a project anymore. Not the way I used to. Again, I don't know if this has to do with any sort of undiagnosed ADHD, but I can hyperfixate on things for a long time and be very productive, but then it just sort of dies out and I no longer have that passion, I no longer have that motivation and drive within me to continue. A perfect example of this is lately in the past maybe 6 months or so, I've been playing a lot of video games and I've been playing video games my entire life, since I was a little tiny kid on a Game Boy Advance. But for a little while, between 18 and I'd say 23, I lost my passion for video games. And although I played them for videos and for live streams, I wasn't enjoying them the way I enjoy them now and the way I enjoyed them before I became an adult. However, now I've been doing this for several months, and every time I play a game that I hyperfixate on, I just lose passion. Just from one moment to the next, it's just gone. And all of a sudden, I go from wanting to 100% complete the game, get all the achievements and such, play all the side quests, to no longer opening the game and abandoning it for months on end. And this happens with TV shows. This happens with movies. I can't commit to watching anything longer than 10 minutes, if even that, to be honest. YouTube videos is the only thing I can really tolerate. And even then, I'm clicking off and on a video nonstop until I find something where my brain can just turn off and at least pretend to be listening. I wanted to take notes for this video, but I want it to be as authentic as possible. And I know this is only my first video doing this kind of commentary or just this type of content, but if you want more in the future, please let me know down below. I'm going to be leaving this open-ended because I just turned 25, and obviously I don't know the answers a month later, but I do want to look back maybe 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and see just how I'm doing, how am I feeling in that moment compared to now. I might not be happy, but I'm not sad. I'm just trying to find my way, I guess.